Greetings, travelers. I'm here to read you about a tale I once heard long ago. A tale of a couple named Kaoru and Hiroto. Let me start by describing the setting. The sun had just finished setting, and the cold nip in the air hinted that it was time to depart. "It's getting cold," she said, shivering slightly. He tightened his grip around her waist and leans in for another kiss. She knows he cannot refuse the delicious taste of his lips that had melted into her memory. She gives him a quick peck and whispers, "We ought to get going now." "I agree. I need to catch the last bus, and it's quite a walk back to the bus stop," he reminds her. "I guess it's all right if you stay at my place tonight," she says, making him blush. "You know, if you want," she finishes. "Are you sure you're all right with that?" he questions with a slightly excited tone. "Of course," she nods. "My parents are across seas still for work, and my sister is staying at a friend's house tonight." He excels, grabs her hand, and says, "I guess I shouldn't say no to a lovely offer." He smiles and tilts his head slightly, his blush still very much present, and they depart towards her house. She unlocks the door and enters. He follows shortly after, and says, "Sorry for the intrusion. I told you there's no one home, so don't worry about it," she giggles. "Okay, sorry," he whispers with a slightly embarrassed look on his face. She notices this look and says, "What's with that look? Are you wondering where you're going to sleep?" This made him more embarrassed, and his blush increased noticeably. "I caught you thinking something dirty," she says, smirking mischievously at the thought. "Take off your shoes and follow me upstairs. I'll show you where you sleep." He obeys, removing his shoes and placing his bag down next to them. She jets up the stairs to the second story, leaving him to follow her through the dark house. "Where are you? I can't see anything," he says, stubbing his toe on the last step. "Ow!" he exclaims, quickly covering his mouth at the idea of waking any neighbors. "This way," he hears faintly to his left. He follows the voice into the last door on the left of the hallway, and, as he enters, the light flickers on. He is blinded for a moment, but his vision comes back as he sees her petite figure propped up on her bed. There she sits, already in her pajamas, with a slight blush on her face. He sees this and quickly looks away, noticing how the decor of her bedroom, it's covered in posters of various bands and piles of stuffed animals scattered across the store. I mean, around the floors and shelves. "It's a very nice room," he whispers under his breath, still trying to avoid the fact that he is in the bedroom of his precious Kaoru. "Thank you," she giggles. "And now, as for where you sleep, my family wouldn't be very happy if I let someone else sleep on their furniture without their permission." She slowly gets off the bed and starts walking towards him, a devious smile across her face. "So, I can pull out a spare mattress and make you a spot on the floor," she says, still approaching him. Or she hugs him, stands on her toes, and puts her mouth next to his ear and whispers, "You can sleep with me." His face turns beet red, and he manages to stutter, "No, the floor is fine." She releases him, a disappointed look on her face. "You're no fun," she states. "If you keep passing up all these chances, more may never come," she says while smirking. She steps forward, he steps back, and then he grabs his arm and falls back onto her bed, leaving him positioned over her. I want my first to be with you, Hiroto, she says sternly, blushing. His natural instincts kick in, and he goes in for a kiss, but this kiss was like none of the others they've experienced together. It was a kiss that he had poured his heart and soul into, one that could never be replicated. If you really want to, he's cut off. Of course I do. Why else would we be here like this, doing things? She says with an angered tone. He can sense the seriousness behind what she says and kisses her again. After he is done, he whispers softly, "Okay." She has positioned herself flat on her back, knees dangled off the end of her bed. He kneels on top of her and slowly starts undoing her top, too slowly. "Hurry up, idiot, it's embarrassing," she says angrily. "Sorry." He apologizes as he finishes unbuttoning her top and opens it to expose her small, firm, and bare breasts. "They're small, I know," she says depressingly. "They're cute and they're yours, so they're perfect," he says, firmly causing her to blush. He leans in and starts to lick one in a circular motion while pinching and twisting the other. She lets out a gasp of pleasure. "Stop teasing me," she says in an attempt to keep her sanity. I want to see it." "Okay," he says, backing off of her breast, pulling his pants down to his knees and sitting next to her on the bed. She moves to the floor on her knees and starts staring at it. "It's so big," she gasps, grasping it gently. "Should I suck it?" "Yes, please do," he says, waiting the sensation of her mouth while feeling the warmth of her breath. She places her mouth on his penis and he twitches. "Your mouth feels so good, Kaoru," he says, overly loudly in his state of pleasure. She entwines his dick with her tongue and takes it in as deep as she can. "If you continue like that, I'm going to come," he states loudly. She continues to bob her head, moving his dick back and forth in her mouth, wrapping her tongue around it quickly. "Coming," he yells. His penis twitches and starts to shoot semen, his mind going blank. She feels some of the semen fire into her mouth and the back of her throat, so she panics and pulls away. The semen emerging from his penis ends up all over her face and breasts, leaving her covered. She swallows what little of it ended up in her mouth and says, "There is so much." "Sorry," he says while grabbing some tissues for her. She refuses the tissues. "No need," she says, wiping it off and sticking it into her mouth before swallowing most of it. The sight of this erects his penis yet again, and they both notice it. "You've had yours, now it's my turn," she says in a very aroused manner, tipping him over onto her bed and prepares to saddle him. As she hovers over him, she grabs his penis and guides it into position, preparing for what is to come. She slowly lowers herself and he penetrates her, her mouth opening in pain and pleasure. "Are you okay?" he asks, concerned about the face she has made. "Of course, I can handle this much," she says with a very noticeable pain in her voice. She starts to slowly thrust her hips as the blood from her now broken hymen drips down the side of his dick. "So good," she exclaims as his penis grows slightly bigger, getting ready to ejaculate. She thrusts harder, and he starts to buck, making her gasp and moan in ecstasy. "Your insides are so tight, Kaoru," he says, taking note of this pleasure in his brain. "And your dick is so big, it's hitting all the way inside me," she cries in pleasure. They continue moaning and gasping and thrusting as she falls over onto him. "Hiroto, I feel like I'm going to..." She begins, but is quickly interrupted. Me too, Kaoru. I can't hold much longer, he states, feeling as if he's about to explode. They grab each other firmly and begin to kiss. Let's come together, Hiroto. Come with me, she exclaims between gasps. Kaoru, Kaoru, he repeats over and over again as they both reach their climax. She begins to convulse rhythmically. His penis begins to twitch uncontrollably, and they both share this moment of extreme pleasure. Their minds blank, time feeling still, and they begin to recover. They continue their embrace and start kissing again. She pulls away slowly and states, "We should clean up. It's already morning, and my sister is coming home shortly." He nods in agreement, and they clean up and get their clothes back on. "You had best get home so your family doesn't worry, Hiroto," she states, "but we will do this again." She winks and blushes, resulting in him blushing and a passionate kiss. "I'm heading out," he says as he exits the door. "Be back soon," she says seductively as she blows a kiss. He walks out of the front yard and heads towards the bus stop. "You guys sounded like you had fun last night," a voice in Kaoru's left ear, forcing a startled jump. Kaoru turns around to see her older sister and yells, "You are home!" blushing heavily. My friend's little brother got sick, so I couldn't go." She giggles as she turns around and walks into the kitchen. She turns her head and winks and says, "Don't worry, I won't tell." That's all I have for you tonight. And maybe this campfire story will be quite right for you.